So, a very good afternoon to you all. Welcome to Job Grade IS. Welcome to Job Grade IS. Today is the session 18 of Mains Enrichment Program, and we are discussing the third question of Indian art and culture. So, Indian art and culture, we have discussed. We have discussing this topic as a separate theme. It's a very separate theme, and we are discussing all the PYQs that been asked in UPSC Mains examination from 2013 to 2024. So, the today's question is very based on a very particular theme, and it is on Raja Krishnadev Rai. Raja Krishnadev Rai. So, the today's question is Krishnadev Raya, the king of Vijayanagar, was not only an accomplished scholar himself, but was also a great patron of learning and literature. Discuss. So, we have to go in details. We have to discuss. Now, deliberately, I didn't mention the word limit of this question because we are going to have a lot of brainstorming of this topic because theme is bigger. Raja Krishnadev Rai, you know very well, he was the king of Vijayanagar, and during Sangam age, not only he was one of the strongest, but the strongest ruler of South India. And in the story of Babarnama, which was written by Babar, Babar claimed himself the strongest ruler of the entire country. In entire India, in entire Hindustan, he was the strongest ruler, and he was contemporary to Babar. Now, let us discuss. Yesterday, day before yesterday, on Saturday only, I discussed one question that was bilingual. And I promised you that upcoming sessions will be English only because the more emphasis on language is better for you to learn about the things, right? Because if you are going to write the UPSC mains in English medium, it's better to read, better to listen the faculty, better to communicate in English only, right? Rest of the things are in your hands only कि आप किस तरीके से चीज़ों को लेकर जाना चाहते हो. But my personal opinion is whenever you are approaching the civil services mains, especially in the English medium, then you need to be very careful about the language. So it's better to listen in English only. Now, so whenever we discuss this theme of Raja Krishnadev Rai, Raja Krishnadev Rai, Raja Krishnadev Rai, he was the king of Vijayanagar. He was the king of Vijayanagar. He was the king of Vijayanagar. And you know very well, there were 4 dynasties that ruled over Vijayanagar. So there were 4 dynasties. Four dynasties of Vijayanagar Empire. Of Vijayanagar Empire. Right? First is Saluv dynasty. Okay. First is Saluv dynasty. Sorry, first is Sangam dynasty. Sangam dynasty. Second is Saluv dynasty. Saluv dynasty. Third is Tulava dynasty. And fourth is, which one is the last, is Aravidu dynasty. Aravidu dynasty. Now, Raja Krishnadev Rai was from Tulava dynasty. He was from the Tulava dynasty, and whenever we discuss about Krishnadev Rai, we had certain qualities which were unique about him. Whenever we discussed about Krishnadev Rai, you will have certain qualities of him. He was a talented general. He was a talented general. He was a talented general. He was a talented diplomat. Talented diplomat. As well as he was a great architect. And a great scholar too. And he was a great scholar too, right? So, great architect, we have the example of Vijayanagar. He established Vijayanagaram. Right? So, he was a great general, he was a great diplomat, he was a great architect, and he was a great scholar also. Why he was known as a great scholar? Why he is known as a great scholar? Because he was well versed in many languages. He was well versed in many languages. He was well versed in Tamil, in Telugu, in Kannada, and in Sanskrit. Right? He was well versed in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Sanskrit. Now, I think some technical problem in the board. So, now he was a great scholar, he was a great patron also. So, he patronized Tamil saints, Telugu scholars, Kannada scholars, and Sanskrit scholars as well. Now, let us revisit the question. Krishnadev Rai, the king of Vijayanagar, was not only an accomplished scholar himself, but was a great patron of learning and literature discussed. We have justified one point, that he was a great scholar. Why? Because he was well versed in many languages. Even he wrote, even his work of Amukti his literary work, famous literary work was Amukta Malyad. And this was written in Sanskrit. It signifies that how good he was in the creation of literature, how well versed he was in different languages, as well as he was a great warrior, as well as he was a great diplomat. But we are discussing his scholarly and his his quality to patronize these scholars, right? We are discussing him as a scholar, and we are discussing him as the quality to patronize the scholars. Now he patronized, because it is mentioned in the question. So, what we are going to do now onwards, we are going to mention about the different type of scholars that was patronized by Krishnadev Rai, and we will mention about their works also. Works means the literary work. their creations, right? Okay. So now the reign of Shri Krishna Dev Raya stands out as high point in the history of the Vijayanagar Empire. He proved himself not only a talented general and diplomat, as I mentioned, but also an architect and city planner. He constructed the magnificent city of Vijayanagaram, magnificent city of Vijayanagaram. Now, what will you discuss in the body? What will you discuss in the body? So, he reserved much of his wealth. So, what was this? Was the principal quality of this man? He reserved much of his wealth, his property to patronize the scholars of various languages: Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and the Sanskrit. Now he ushered golden era of Telugu literature, writing Amuktamalid, a narrative poem describing the sorrow of. So he created Amuktamalid. It was a Telugu literature, right? I mentioned here Sanskrit. Please correct it. This is Telugu. Okay. This is Telugu. This is Telugu. So now he and his work, the creation of Amuktamalid, marked the golden era of Tamil literature during the reign of Raja Krishnadev Rai. And a story, and Amuktamalid is nothing but a story of a sorrow of a lady, Goda Devi, in the remembrance of his husband Vishnu. I don't want to explain the entire story because it will go out of context. You need to know what is the real context, right? Because in mains answer writing, you are already running out of time. As I explained you earlier, that you have 180 minutes. You will have 20 questions, so 9 minutes for each question. And if you exclude the time to analyze the paper and exclude the time to read each and every question separately, then on an average you will have 7 minutes to write a question, write an answer, right? So Krishnadev Raya commanded fluency in many languages, and poets of Telugu, Sanskrit, Kannada and Tamil enjoyed his patronage. They enjoyed his patronage. So he patronized a Kannada poet. He patronized a Kannada poet. His name is Malla Raya. He was a Kannada poet. He wrote two important literatures. He wrote two very important literatures. First one was, his works were Veer Shaiv Mitra. It is a devotional work. Right? In which the devotion of a devotee towards Lord Shiva is described, in a very well versed manner. Next is Satyendra Chol Katha. Right? Satyendra Chol Katha. Another was Chatu Vishwanath. He was another important poet. By the way, you do not find this topic very boring, because the freedom of speech, Jai Hind sir, Jai Hind. Do not find this topic very boring, because art and culture is a kind of a topic which is, whenever you find this topic, find a little bit boring, because most of the aspirants don't have any interest. They have interest in history, the history of kings. Now the history of kings is not being asked in the UPSC. It's an old pattern. Most of the question in the mains examination, in the prelims examination, are being asked from this art and culture, and art and culture is tough only because of its nature. The art and culture of Chola era is completely different from this Vijayanagar Empire. The art and culture of Mughals is completely different from the Sultani era. The art and culture of Indus Valley civilization is completely different from the Vedic era. Right now, so the topics are not very monotonous. The graph is very, it's a sine wave, a sine wave, right? So do not be afraid by the nature of the question and by the facts that I am providing you. All the facts are up to the mark. You mention these points in the examination, you will be rewarded with good marks, right? Because these topics are being created with a lot of research, right? So don't be don't just fumble about the things that I'm not able to learn these things because there are a lot of facts. You need to learn them, and that is my job. That is my job. What I'm doing, I'm going to teach you what is relevant for the answer writing, and what is irrelevant, I'm not going to mention, right? So these things that you will have to keep in your mind. Chatu Vishwanath, he wrote a eulogy. On Krishna Dev Raya. Eulogy on Krishna Dev Raya means a note of kind of achievements. You are praising someone after his death. So you know very well, you can understand very well what kind of a stature Krishna Dev Raya was carrying. What kind of stature Krishna Dev Raya was carrying. Why? Because even after his death, his scholars are writing very good things about him. It is seen in the history that scholars are picked by the rulers, and they were pressurized to write good things, only good things about him, and they got exposed after their deaths, right? But it is not in the case of Krishna Dev Raya. He got a lot of praise from his scholars that were patronized by him even after his death. It was the nature of Krishna Dev Raya, whenever he used to travel with on his elephant, and whenever he met any scholar on his way, he patronized him. So he was a big-hearted man. He was a big-hearted man when it comes to the art and culture, especially when it comes to the literature. Right? Next is Vyas Tirtha. Vyas Tirtha is a very important scholar of Raja Krishna Dev Raya, and he was a saint from Mysore. He was a saint from Mysore. He wrote many poems. Though his separate literary works are not available, but he wrote many poems. Right? So let us see one by one. Krishna Dev Raya patronized Kannada poets Mallan Raya, who wrote Veer Shah Mitra, Bhav Charitratna, and Satyendra Chol Kathe. So these are three important literary works. These are three very important literary works that are completed by Mallan Rai, right? Chatu Vittalnath, who wrote Bhagavata, and Timmanna Kavi, who wrote his eulogy. So Chatu Vishwanath wrote Bhagavata, and Timmanna Kavi, he was the brother of Chatu Vishwanath, and along with Chatu Vishwanath, he wrote a eulogy on Krishna Dev Raya even after his death. Okay. Now Vyas Tirtha, the great saint from Mysore belonging to the Madhva order, had been the Rajguru of Krishna Dev Raya and wrote many songs in praise of his devoted king. He also patronized Tamil poet Haridas. So two important points. First is Vyas Tirtha. Who was Vyas Tirtha? Who was Vyasatirth? He was the Rajguru of Krishnadev Rai. He did a lot of literary work in the praise of his devoted king. Now, he also patronized Tamil poet Haridas. Haridas, don't be confused with Haribhadra. Haribhadra was patronized. He was a Buddhist scholar. He was patronized by Pal rulers, and Haridas is patronized by Raja Krishnadev Rai. Okay? If you have any doubts, you can ask. Now, a very normal point that you already study from your NCRTs, from your basic books, the concept of Ashtadiggaja. The concept of Ashtadiggaja was introduced by Raja Krishnadev Rai, and they were nothing but a group of 8 scholars who were very highly qualified. He had 8 great scholars called Ashtadiggajas in his court. They included Allasani Pedanna, often described as Andhra Kavi Pitamaha. He was the greatest poet of South India. That is the reason why he is known as Andhra Pitamaha. Why he is known as Andhra Pitamaha? Popularly known as Pedanna. Pedanna. And he is titled as Andhra Kavi Pitamaha. Andhra Kavi Pitamaha, which means the grandfather, not only the father, but the grandfather of all the poets in the Andhra region, which is known as the South India. Right? So, Pitamaha means grandfather. Pitamaha means grandfather. Okay, so he had 8 great scholars called Ashtadiggajas in his court. They included Allasani Pedanna, often described as Andhra Kavi Pitamaha, often known as Andhra Kavi Pitamaha. His famous work about means Pedanna's famous work was Manu Charit Manu. Another famous poet was Nandi Timmana, the author of Parijat Pahar Anamanu. Right? He asked the Kannada poet Timmana to complete the Kannada Mahabharat started by Kumar Vyasa. So, he was, by the way, these points are very important for your prelims examination as well, because there are a lot of examples I have included in your answer writing. If you load up your answer with these examples, you will not be penalized. There are no chance to get penalized, right? And yes, mention this point always. Nandi Timmana was the author of Kannada version of Mahabharat. It was started by Kumar Vyas. So let me clear you this thing. Whenever you see the Kannada version of Mahabharat, right? It was compiled first of all during the reign of Krishnadev Raya. Right? It was started by was started by Kumar Vyasa. Kumar Vyas. It was started by Kumar Vyas, and then it was completed by, it is said it was completed by Nandi Thimanna. Nandi Thimanna. Right, it was completed by Nandi Thimanna. This slide is very, very important. This slide is very, very important. Mark it very, very important. Whenever you see this kind of question, never mention to give this example. Never mention to give this examples. And whenever you are preparing for the UPSC prelims examination, never forget to analyze the questions of mains examination, because both the exams are interlinked. Right? There are certain cheat codes to crack the prelims. This is one of them. The question which been asked in mains, the question is can be asked in the prelims next year from the same theme. Now, he asked Kannada poet Thimanna to complete the Kannada Mahabharata started by Kumar Vyas. Next, Telugu poet Pedanna was personally honored by him for his proficiency in Telugu and Sanskrit, and Krishnadev Rai himself gave a helping hand to lift the palanquin in which the poet's book Manu Charit Manu was placed and taken in a procession. So this is a very famous event of history, when he not only he patronized the Andhra Kavi Pitama, also known as the Pedanna, the Allah Swami Pedanna. He helped him to learn Telugu and Sanskrit, and he gave a helping hand to lift the palanquin in which the poet's book Manu Charitmu was placed and taken in a procession. Right? So let us suppose I am writing a book, and my book is approached to the president of this country. Now, what president of this country is doing in my honor is he is showing this book in an exhibition by his personal efforts, and that's a big achievement. And that was the gesture of Krishnadev Raya towards his scholars. And yes, the greatest gesture for the greatest poet. Okay. Now it is said whenever Krishnadev Raya met the poet while riding on his elephant, he gave him a lift. According to Nidatavolu Venkatrao, the reign of Krishnadev Raya is a glorious chapter in the South Indian literary history. So whenever you write this line in your answer writing, so you do not mention according to, right? You can mention Krishnadev Raya is a glorious, the reign of Krishnadev Raya is a glorious chapter in South Indian history, and bracket mein you can mention the name of Nidatavolu Venkatrao. Please learn to pronounce these words correctly. Your way of pronunciation reflects in your writing, right? So if you do not pronounce these words in a correct manner, you may be penalized by the examiner. Don't say that I am from North India, I am from East India, I cannot pronounce these words. This is mandatory for you, right? So now the imperial court had representatives of Sanskrit, Telugu, Kannada and Tamil poets who contributed largely to their respective literatures. As I mentioned you, the very first point, Krishnadev Rai himself was a great scholar of Sanskrit, Kannada, Tamil and Telugu, and he patronized a lot of scholars of these languages in his court, and all these scholars contributed a lot in the literature of South India, especially in the reign of Krishnadev Rai. So what will you write in the conclusion? Is Krishnadev Rai himself was an accomplished scholar who wrote Madalsa Charitra, Satyavadhu, Pariyana, Rasmanjari, and Jamvati Kalyan. This, besides being an outstanding ruler, Krishnadev Rai is considered a great scholar who immensely contributed to the cultural art and literature of his time. Right. So these are the questions. This was the question for the day. Right. And I hope you got the question. I hope you got the answers. I have included a lot of examples. I know very well that today's session was, was full of brainstorming. It was a roller coaster. It may be a roller coaster ride for you for half hour. So this is, you have to mention, that is the reality of these kind of questions. Whenever you are being asked any question regarding the literary contribution of any king or under his reign, you will have to give a lot of examples. You cannot say he was a great scholar of Sanskrit. Now, how many Sanskrit scholars he patronized? How many Kannada scholars he patronized? Right? So you have to be very, very clear about these things, about these points. Okay. So tomorrow we will meet at the same time, same place, with one more question of Indian art and culture. We will discuss the question, its all aspects thoroughly. Right. So till then, have a nice day. Thank you.